Right, one of the nicest pieces of Tigerwood I've had in a while. Right, as I said, this is one of the nicest pieces of tiger I've had in a while. The markings are evenish all the way around it, and the lines are nice and dark. I showed this blank first in the video I did where I was telling how to read blanks. Right, if you haven't seen that one, I'll leave a link up there to it. Right, so we'll get on with this, and when I get to the Yorkshire Grit bit, it's a really interesting one this week because it's about something that everybody knows about, and I'd say most countries celebrate it, but the original story of where it came from is very interesting. Right, so we'll get on with this. Right. Do the usual, round it off first, and then flatten it off, and we put a tenon on it, or a mortise, should I say. Right then, mortise is in. You just knock off the corner as normal. Now, something I did forget was I want a slight foot on this bow, and I forgot it. So, rule of thirds again. About there. Just want a slight foot on it. Now we can start shaping this properly. Go across to the foot. So I know where I'm cutting. This one is a little dusty, so I'm going to put on the air shield. Now then, as per the question I asked, the outside mic seems to be the favourite one and seems to be the clearest when I'm using this thing. And then I don't want a hard foot on this, so I'm going to do a pull cut starting from there and just coming down that to blend that foot in a little bit. Very gentle now. Then we'll just continue that curve around the bowl. And there's a little ridge there I gotta get rid of. Got it? A slight bump just there. Got it? And the ridge kicks out slightly. The rim kicks out ever so slightly. You want to get rid of. There we go. So this is the nicest piece of tiger I've had in a while. The markings on it are very dark, so it should turn out absolutely stunning. Right then, I'll sand this and I'll be back for the Yorkshire Grit bit, which, as I said, is very interesting this week because it's a tradition that's done worldwide, and this is actually where it comes from. So I'll be back in a sec. Alright then, this week's Yorkshire Grit bit. Now, some people know this, but a lot actually don't. Halloween is an Irish festival. It comes from Ireland. Okay. Now, I will go into the origins of Halloween a bit closer to the time, shall we say. Well, you see, Halloween isn't a legend. Halloween is a festival, right? But there is a legend to do with Halloween that, as I said, comes from Ireland. And it's a jack-o'-lantern. And where it comes from. Why is it called a jack-o'-lantern? And what's it for? Right. The legend is about a guy called Stingy Jack. Now, stingy, for those who don't know what the word means, because it's kind of a slang word, right? It means mean, you know, penny pinching, Scrooge type. Now, the jack-o'-lantern, right? People have been making them for years, centuries, right? At Halloween, and it originates from this Irish myth of Stingy Jack. Now, according to the story, Stingy Jack invited the devil to have a drink with him. And true to his name, Stingy Jack didn't want to pay for the drink. So he convinced the devil to turn himself into a coin to use to buy the drinks. So the devil, being the devil, did it. But Jack, being stingy, decided not to pay for the drinks. And he put the money into his pocket next to a silver cross. And the silver cross stopped the devil turning back from a coin back into himself. Now, after a few years, Jack eventually freed the devil, under the condition that he wouldn't bother Jack for a year after he let him free. And that if Jack dies, the devil would not claim his soul. So the devil agreed. And the next year, Jack again tricked him. But this time it wasn't a drink. He tricked the devil into climbing into a tree to pick a piece of fruit. While he was up the tree, Jack carved the sign of the cross into the tree's bark, and the devil couldn't come down again. So Jack left the devil up the tree for a while and came back and said to the devil that he'd let him down if the devil wouldn't bother Jack for another 10 years. So the devil agreed. Now, soon after this, Jack died. And as the legend goes, God wouldn't let such a bad person into heaven. And the devil, upset by the tricks that Jack had played on him, and he kept Jack to his word, the devil wouldn't claim his soul and wouldn't let him into hell. He sent Jack off to wander the earth with only a piece of coal from hell that would never stop glowing to light Jack's way. Now the thing was, this was really hot, as you can imagine, a piece of hell coal. So what Jack did was, Jack carved out a turnip and used it like a lantern, put the piece of coal into it. Right? Now, original jack-o'-lanterns are not pumpkins, they're turnips. And trust me, if you've ever seen a proper jack-o'-lantern, one that's carved out of a turnip, it's a hell of a lot more frightening than one carved out of a pumpkin, I'll tell you that. So, anyway, back to the story, right? So, Jack has been wandering the country of Ireland for hundreds of years with this carved out pumpkin to light his way, and people started calling him Jack of the Lantern, which was shortened down to Jack O'Lantern, and that's where the name comes from. It comes from the spirit of Stingy Jack walking the highways and byways of Ireland with this carved out pumpkin, or a carved out turnip, sorry. Right? Now, Irish people began to carve faces into turnips to keep evil Jack away on Iha. Now, Iha is the original Halloween, right? Now, the belief was that on Halloween, the doors between the living and the spirit worlds was very faint, almost open, and that Jack could come and trick somebody into taking his place, and Jack could finally rest. But something that Jack used to do was, if he'd already tried to trick somebody, he'd leave the mark of his lantern on the door, so that he knew he couldn't trick these people. So what people did was, they carved out the jack-o'-lantern out of a turnip, put a candle inside of it, and left it on the doorstep to keep jack at bay. And that is where jack-o'-lanterns actually come from. Right. I said it's an interesting one, and it's a legend, it's an Irish legend that has gone worldwide. Right. Now, if you're wondering why we use jack-o'-lanterns as pumpkins now and not turnips, it's basically thanks to the settlers that went through America. They found pumpkins over there, and they found that they were a hell of a lot easier to carve than a turnip. And that's why we now use pumpkins instead of turnips when we're carving jack-o'-lanterns. But if you want to do an original one, now I will tell you it's much more difficult to carve it. Do a turnip, and you'll be surprised how terrifying these things are. Right, so I'll get on with this, and I'll be back when I'm doing the wax. Right, I hope you enjoyed that one. So, back in a sec. Right then, just putting the wax off. And as I said, this is definitely one of the prettiest pieces of tiger I've had in a long while. The markings in it are gorgeous. The darks are really dark, and they go all the way around it. Absolutely gorgeous piece. As I said before, pretty wood is a simple shape, and simple wood needs a pretty shape. So this is the simplest shape of a bowl I can make. Isn't that gorgeous? Look at that deep black stripe running through it. That is gorgeous, that is. Right, we flip this around and we get the other side done. So I'll flip it around and I'll be back in a sec. Right, and I'll flip it around, space it off. Mark how wide I want this. A little bit. About there. Now, we'll throw the trend back on. As I said, this is dusty. And we get the hole in this. And now the sand is finishing inside, and I'll be back in a sec. Right then, just popping the wax off. This definitely is the prettiest piece of tiger I've had in ages. Markings in it are gorgeous. That is gorgeous in there. That deep black is absolutely just pots. It's gorgeous. Right, we'll take it off and give you a closer look at it. So, back in a sec. Right, now, there it is. Pretty little Tigerwood bowl. the markings in it are just lovely. Right, you can't really see the mark. I'm just checking here on the camera. You can't really see the markings. So what I'll do is I'll take a few stills, put them up the end. But no, definitely the prettiest piece of tiger I've had in a while. So if you enjoyed that one, if you wouldn't mind, click a like on the video, and I'll see you in the next one.